Okay, this is Slick Whatever. Um, this is what if Deku was betrayed and experimented on part 3. Where yeah, if you like the video, like, subscribe, and let's get into it. So where I left it off last time was when Zuko was using the Kirin and he struck lightning, and he was intending for it to go down to the ground, but instead it hit someone. That's where I ended it off. And it actually struck All Might. The lightning struck All Might, and so when he looked down, he saw All Might just laying flat on the ground, and you could see him laying flat on the ground, and Zuko was like, "That's a problem." So he just jumps down, and some students gathered around, and they see that All Might was struck by lightning, and then they see someone jumping down from the roof, and they're like, "You killed All Might." And Zuko says, "No, he's just paralyzed." And everyone's like, "Oh, what? You can't, you just struck All Might with lightning, though." And Zuko says, "Yeah, I'll just heal him." And then they're like, "You have a healing quirk? But I thought you had lightning." And he was like, "Yeah, I have that as well." And they're like, "How many quirks do you have?" And Zuko says, "Well, about And then he thinks, and he says, "Actually, I have too many to count." And they're like, "Wait, what?" And they're all confused, and Zuko just bends down and heals All Might, although he doesn't he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to get charged for murder of the number one hero. So All Might gets healed. He takes him to Recovery Girl before his buff form goes down. And so yeah, before he goes down to his small might form, and they're really confused about how this kid, this kid with a weird mask on his face and really weird eyes has more quirks than he can count. And they're thinking, what if one of the kids is like, "I heard that number one villain can steal quirks. What if they steal all of his?" And they're like really scared now, because he just defeated All Might with a single lightning strike. And All Might has been fighting All For One, and he barely won last time. So if he beat All Might with a single lightning strike, then All For One will definitely beat him. So they're like quite scared, and they're thinking to each other, we need to find a way to keep All For One away from that kid. And well, it's some of the teachers who are thinking this. The teachers are thinking, we need to find a way to get Izuku away from All For One. And let's just say that after he did that to All Might, he had a tag on, let's say he had a tag on Karagiri, and he flying ragens to Karagiri, and they see him, but then he disappears instantly, so he body flickers to All For One, and All For One just sees this kid with a mask who's quite tall and muscular, but he doesn't know what he's doing. And he's like, "Boy, what are you doing here?" And Zuko says, "Isn't it obvious? I'm here to kick your ass." And All For One's like, "Good luck with that." And as he's about to finish, he has got a Chidori right through his heart. And All For One's like, that's not gonna be enough to get me, right? And Zuko says, "I know." And then, like, he summons shadow clones, and then they have, like, 5 Chidoris, and they just shove them into his face, and, All For One just falls on the ground. He's like dying, but his healing quirk is just barely keeping him alive. So Zuko just flying ragens back to Recovery Girl's office, and Recovery Girl sees that Zuko has a tiny bit of blood stained on his shirt and his arm, and she's like, "What did you do? What did you do this time?" And Zuko says, went over to the League of Villains hideout and beat All For One's ass. And she's shocked. She's like, You did what?" And Zuko says, "I just did what I said. I kicked All For One's ass." Recovery Girl says, "Did you kill him?" And Zuko says, "No, I made it so that he was barely alive so that he can self-regenerate. But it might be about a month before he can stand and walk normally again." And Recovery Girl's like, "Great, good job. You made our lives easier, but did you have to do it in that way?" And Zuko just says, "Well, yeah." And so next day passes, and let's just say the next next day passes, and they go to the USJ again. They don't run into the League of Villains, but they all have bad memories of that place, so they're doing absolutely horrible, except for Zuko. And let's just say Zuko and Kirishima. Zuko and Kirishima are like doing perfectly fine with their training. Everyone else is struggling because they're thinking about what happened last time at the USJ and are worried. But Kirishima knows that Doria, or knows that they won't be attacked again, and if they will be, Kirishima or Zuko will just kill or kick all their asses. That's what he thinks. So, well, let's say it's all 4 of them. So it's Suyu, Bakugo, Momo, and Kirishima are the ones who are actually doing quite well, because they know that Zuko will protect them, and everyone's like, "Well, he might protect us, right?" And secretly, Bakugo just walks next to them and says, "He won't. You changed him. You changed him into, what you see now. So, and he probably won't protect you because of what you did." They're all shocked, and Momo let's say Sue sees this, walks up to Bakugo and say, "What did you say to them?" And Bakugo just says the truth. Suyu is like, okay, but did you have to give them those scared looks? And Bakugo just says, well, yeah, it makes it better. So they're all even more scared of Izuku now. Let's just say Hochako and Ida. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Hochako and Ida. Are still thinking that Izuku's sort of a villain. And so, after the day ends, they're leaving. Ida grabs Uraraka. Uraraka makes herself float, and Ida runs as fast as she can and hides behind an alleyway. Sort of far from the USG. No, sort of far from UA. And they just wait there, and Izuku leaves UA and starts walking in the direction of Ida and Hochako, and they're. If my voice changes over this, it's because I just woke up and my vocal cords are still warming up. So, Izuku's walking past, in the street, past an alleyway, and that's when he notices Ida and, Hochako. I'm just gonna say he can sense them with chakra. He spread chakra throughout the air, and he sensed them moving, and he notices that it's Hochako and Ida, and before he gets there, he body flickers on top of the building and walks over the ledge to over the ledge of the alleyway, looks down and he sees them, and then he drops down behind them, but they didn't hear him, so he just silently lands behind them, stands up, crosses his arms, and then he goes and they turn and look and they see Izuku, and they're like, "How'd you get there?" And Izuku says, "Well, I used my brain." As in obviously use my quirk and my brain. And they're like, "Well, who cares? You're not gonna get away this time, you villain." And Izuku says, "Who says I'm a villain?" And they say, "We do." And Ida says, "Reciprocal turbo!" And he goes to kick Izuku. Actually, no, he doesn't have reciprocal turbo yet. He says, "Reciprocal burst!" And he runs as fast as he can, tries to kick Izuku, but his leg, as his leg is going to kick him, it goes right through him, and then they notice it's just a clone. Then they look around to see Izuku's just standing in the place that was standing before, and he's like, "How'd you do that?" Izuku says, "Matterless clones." So, yeah. Speaking of matter, I'm gonna make a new series later today, my time, and it'll be World of Izuku at State of Matter Manipulation. If you don't know what that is, he has control over the 4 states of matter and basically becomes a god. So yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, there were clones that had no matter, and Ida says, "That's another quirk. You're working with Orphan One, aren't you?" And Izuku says, "No, I kicked his ass like a week ago. Oh no, I kicked his ass yesterday." And Ida is confused, and he grabs Ida and Uraraka, flying Raijins over to Orph One. It's like before he left, he put a flying Raijin tag, flying Thunder God tag, and flying Thunder God's over there, and they see Orph One like lying in a medical bed, about to die, dying, and they're like, they say, why would you do that to your own master, or to your own boss? And Izuku says, are you that fucking dense? And they just look at him and like, you really think I would do that to my own boss? You really think he is my boss? And they're like, well, yeah, how'd you get those quirks? And Izuku says, I got them after you killed me. And both Ida and Uraraka are shocked. And they look down in shame and like, just take us back. So he flying Thunder God's back to the alleyway, and Izuku says, I hope you realize now what you've done. And they're like, yeah, we're sorry, because they realized that Izuku is betrayed, and when he said that he died, they thought it was metaphorical, like all of his emotions and all of his feelings had died. And Izuku starts to walk off, and then he stops, turns around slightly, and said, "No, that wasn't metaphorical. Fuck, that wasn't metaphorical. I did die that day, and I did die." And they're like, "Then how are you here?" Izuku. Sorry, my phone cut off. So Izuku just says, "It wasn't metaphorical. I did die that day." And then they're like, "How are you here?" And then Izuku says, "I'll explain another time. But for now, I still haven't accepted I haven't accepted your apology." Because they said, "We're sorry." So Izuku says that and walks off, and they understand why he doesn't accept their apology. They get it now. They realize that he wasn't a villain, and so yeah, days go on, and it's a sports festival. Yep. So it's a sports festival. And let's just say Midnight comes into the room and asks Izuku to, let's say Midnight asks Izuku to come to Teacher's Lounge. He comes in there, and Midnight's like, "Hey, we've got a position for you. Do you want to be the representative to the school or to UA?" And Izuku says, "No thanks. Give it to Bakugo or something." And because he doesn't really care about it, so Midnight calls Bakugo over to the Teacher's Lounge, and Midnight says, "Oh, I already asked Izuku this, but he turned it down. But do you wanna be the representative this year for the sports festival?" And Bakugo says, "That damn nerd turned it down. Alright, yeah, I guess I'll do it." And so Midnight's like, "Okay." Then she writes down Katsuki Bakugo down on a sheet of paper on a clipboard, and she's like, "Thank you," and walks off to the Bakugo walks off back to class, and Midnight just leaves to Nizu's office. She says, "Oh, you've got the school representative, or the first year's representative for the year, and for the sports festival." And Nizu's like, "Who is it?" Midnight says, "Well, at first we asked Izuku, but he turned it down. So then we asked. Then he recommended Katsuki Bakugo. We asked him, and he said that he'll do it. Yeah, and so the sports festival happens. Let's say in after the next 2 days. So it's a sports festival happening. All for One is like up now. He can like sort of walk around, but he can only do it for like a minute before he falls over. A minute before he falls over, because I want him back in this quickly. And he's watching the sports festival, and he sees Zuku, and he's like, "That damn kid, he's the one who did it. I need his quirk immediately." So he's watching. Then he thinks to himself, "What if I watch what he does? What if I see how strong he is first? I mean, he did beat me, but maybe he wasn't even using his full power." So, sorry about that. So he goes to a TV and watches the sports festival, and it's the first year representative Katsuki Bakugo who gets called up instead of Izuku Midoriya. And One's like, "Katsuki Bakugo, is that the name of the kid who did it to me, or did this to me?" And he sees it's a completely different person, and he's like, "That's not him. Where is he?" And then he looks down, and he sees someone with a mask. And he's like, "Well, this makes it easy," because he's not taking it off. It's got no real purpose to it. They're like, "Well, how strong is it?" Izuku says, "Well, I'll make a clone of it, make it really weak, because this one can withstand, like 15 punches. No, this one can withstand about 100 All Might Prime punches." And they're like, "What? How's that even possible?" And Izuku says, it just is. It's just, don't question it. It is. So Izuku's wearing a really weak one that can just shatter with like two of Bakugo's explosions. So they're fighting. No, not fighting. Bakugo comes up and says, "We welcome you here today to the to 1A Sports. Oh, sorry. We welcome you here today to the first year sports festival. Although some of us fought real villains, it doesn't mean that we're strong. Well, it doesn't mean that we're stronger than everyone else." It's like a completely different change for Katsuki Bakugo, because he was gonna say that stuff, but then he looked at Izuku and he was like, "Damn nerd. Alright, I guess I'll have to make a speech then off the spot." So he says, "We, although some of us have fought villains, doesn't mean we're stronger. In fact, it means we're weaker. Some of us betrayed our friend. Some of us believed he was a villain. He wasn't. They believed he was the Yoi trader, but when they found out he didn't, or he wasn't, then they tried to get him back into. They tried to become friends with him again, but it didn't work. As soon as they thought he was, and then they discarded him. And as soon as they thought he was a hero, or as soon as they found out he was innocent, they tried to dig him up from the garbage. But it was too late. He was already gone. His personality, his feelings, everything we knew about him has disappeared. That's why I like to make this speech about my friend, and the other three. Well, I'd like to dedicate the speech to my other three friends who actually believed in this, believed in him, and I know this is gonna be a full wipe. He's gonna absolutely rape all of us, but at least we'll try. And they're like, who is this? Well, the people in the crowd are like, who is this? Who is this person? Why is who is this person? And there's no way you can beat all of you. And Bakugo says, well, deal with it. He can, and he most likely will. Then they're like, who is this person? And Bakugo says, you'll find out, and leaves the stand. And they're like, everyone's just silent. Everyone is just silent. They're all thinking to each other, there's no way this kid is that strong. He can't beat all of us. Midnight just says, alright, thank you, Katsuki Bakugo. This is the UA Sports Festival. Let's get it on. So, fucking hell. Sorry, my phone cut off. So, Zuhu just says, it wasn't metaphorical. I did die that day. And then they're like, how are you here? And then Zuko says, I'll explain another time. But for now, I still haven't accepted I haven't accepted your apology. Because they said, we're sorry. So Zuko says that and walks off. And they understand why he doesn't accept their apology. They get it now. They realize that he wasn't a villain. And so, yeah, days go on. And it's a sports festival. Yep. So, it's a sports festival. And let's just say Midnight comes into the room and asks Izuku let's say Midnight asks Izuku to come to teacher's lounge. He comes in there and Midnight's like, hey, we've got a position for you. Do you want to be the representative to the school or to UA? And Izuku says, no thanks. Give it to Bakugo or something. And because he doesn't really care about it. So Midnight calls Bakugo over to the teacher's lounge, and Midnight says, I already asked Izuku this, but he turned it down. But do you wanna be the representative this year for the sports festival? And Bakugo says, that damn nerd turned it down. Alright, yeah, I guess I'll do it. And so Midnight's like, okay, then she writes down Katsuki Bakugo down on a sheet of paper on a clipboard, and she's like, thank you, and walks off to the Bakugo walks off back to class, and Midnight just leaves to Nizu's office. She says, "Oh, you've got the school representative, or the first year's representative for the year, and for the sports festival." And Nizu's like, "Who is it?" Midnight says, "Well, at first we asked Izuku, but he turned it down. So then we asked. Then he recommended Katsuki Bakugo. We asked him, and he said that he'll do it. Yeah, and so the sports festival happens. Let's say in after the next 2 days. So it's a sports festival happening. All for One is like up now. He can like sort of walk around, but he can only do it for like a minute before he falls over. A minute before he falls over, because I want him back in this quickly. And he's watching the sports festival, and he sees Zuku, and he's like, "That damn kid, he's the one who did it. I need his quirk immediately." So he's watching. Then he thinks to himself, "What if I watch what he does? What if I see how strong he is first? I mean, he did beat me, but maybe he wasn't even using his full power." So, sorry about that. So he goes to a TV and watches the sports festival, and it's the first year representative Katsuki Bakugo who gets called up instead of Izuku Midoriya. And One's like, "Katsuki Bakugo, is that the name of the kid who did it to me, or did this to me?" And he sees it's a completely different person, and he's like, "That's not him. Where is he?" And then he looks down, and he sees someone with a mask. And he's like, "Well, this makes it easy, because he's not taking it off. It's got no real purpose to it." They're like, "Well, how strong is it?" Izuku says, "Well, I'll make a clone of it, make it really weak, because this one can withstand, like 15 punches. No, this one can withstand about 100 All Might Prime punches." And they're like, "What? How's that even possible?" And Izuku says, it just is. It's just, don't question it. It is." So Izuku's wearing a really weak one that can just shatter with like two of Bakugo's explosions. So Katsuki Bakugo, so Katsuki Bakugo, so Bakugo goes up to Stan and says, "I'm just gonna say, I know we're not gonna win." And they're like shocked. They're like, "Why would you say that? Of course we're gonna win." And of course we're gonna beat you. And Bakugo just says, "No, not me. Another person." And they're like, they were thinking that he was cocky at first, and they're like, "Wait, what if there's some?" Well, then they were like, then they were saying, "Well, what does he mean?" He's the representative, isn't he the strongest? And Bakugo says, "No, I'm not the strongest." And actually, this is going to be a clean sweep. And like, there's no way that someone's that strong, like, beat everyone at everything. And Bakugo just is, "Well, there is, so deal with it." And he just gets off the stage, and everyone's like, or some of the people who don't know, like, "Who is this person? Who is it?" And everyone who knows just stays silent. They know who it is, and they don't want to just say it. And Bakugo just walks off and ignores them. And so Midnight says, "Thanks for that sort of speech, I guess." And Baraka just puts his thumbs up and says, "Yep," and yeah. So Midnight just says, "All right, our next, our first, what's it called? Our first challenge in the UA Sports Festival is," and it spins, and Midnight, and it stops, and Midnight's like, "Obstacle race," and then President Mike and Midnight explain about the obstacle race and and everything, like not leaving the area and making sure you get through the entire thing. And President Mike, after they're done explaining, President Mike just says, "Aizawa, do you know who this mystery person is?" And Aizawa just says, "Yeah, I do." And President Mike is like, "Is he seriously that strong? He could beat Bakugo and everyone in this arena, like right now." And Aizawa says, "I'm not sure. We haven't actually seen his full power yet, but with what we've seen, what we've seen with him, he can beat All Might with he can beat All Might with a single strike." And then President Mike's like, "What? No, All Might's the strongest." And Isaiah's just like, "Not anymore." President Mike is really confused. He's like, can you give us a description of him?" And Isaiah says, "No, you'll find out anyway." And so they're like, "All right, 3, 2, 1, go!" And as they say go, everyone's just running through the hallway except for Izuku. He's just walking into the hallway and down the hallway. Easies. I need to clear my nose. Alright, so let's just say that they had a camera inside the tunnel and they see just one person walking and they have a really weird mask on, and they're like really confused. They're like, "Hey, how come that person has a mask?" And Isaiah says, "And why is he walking? Is he thinking it's just a joke?" And Isaiah just says, "Nope, that's him." And they turn and look at Isaiah and like, "He's who?" And well, that's who. And Isaiah says, "He's the one, or he's the strongest one here." And they're like, "Then why is he walking?" And then Isaiah says, "Because of this." And as he says, "Because of this," like ice just goes down the hallway, and Izuku just jumps over the ice before it can touch him. Everyone else was frozen in place, and Aizawa is just like, he knew that Todoroki was up to something. He realizes that he's only using his ice, so he's going to freeze the hallway. He wouldn't have been able to jump if he was in a giant mosh pit, so that's why he stayed back. And everyone just looked at him and was like, there's no way he predicted the entire thing. And he's like, Aizen smart, so he can plan someone's entire life. Yeah. He's as smart as Aizen, so he can plan someone's entire life. Though he's not going to. He's had 100 years of mind training as well. So, he, so Aizawa says, well, at the moment, he's smarter than Nezu. And everyone's just like, there's no way he's smarter than Nezu. And then Aizawa says, he did an IQ test, and we found out his IQ is like about triple Nezu's. And no, wouldn't it be more? It'd be like 1,000, wouldn't it? Nezu is like 295, so it'd be about triple, yeah. So it's triple Nezu's, and they're all shocked. They're like, well, then what's his IQ? So yeah, 295. I can just take off 15 of 900. So he has 800. His score on the IQ test is 885, and they're all shocked. Now I'm just gonna say 900 to make it easier. Score of 900, and they're all like, he's that smart. And Aizawa says, yep, take it from someone who has to teach him. And they're like, right, people are right, we have to teach him. Let's just say that Mike wasn't teaching for a few weeks, so he doesn't know about Izuku being really, really smart. And Aizawa says he basically doesn't have to show up to school. He doesn't need to go out. He doesn't even need to learn anything. He's learnt everything. So Nike is shocked. So let's continue with the race. So the race is going on. Izuku just body flickers in front of everyone, and just starts walking. And then he sees a 0-pointer. He walks up to it. Everyone's like, "Is he crazy? I know you said he's strong, but he can't just walk up to a 0-pointer. The 0-pointer is just aiming down, about to punch him. He's about to punch him, and Izuku just puts chakra in his fist, taijutsu style, and just hits the 0-pointer with some chakra infused taijutsu, and they see that the entire arm and head of the 0-pointer is gone. And let's say they have sensitive mics, and they zoom in on Izuku Midori, and he's like, wow, that was weak. I only used 0.001% of my power. And they're like, what? There's no way. But then they see the replay, and they just see Izuku just touching the 0-pointer with his finger, and it just explodes. And they're like, there's no way. He's stronger than All Might. And everyone's like, wait, if he's stronger than All Might, then why doesn't he become a pro hero now? I'm sure they'd let him do that. And Izuku has sensitive hearing. No. Izuku had some clones set up near the participants, and whenever they had something interesting, they'd leave, and then he could get all their memories. And since they have sensitive mics, they hear him say, well, I don't want to be a pro hero yet. I have something left I need to do. And they're like confused. They're like, how'd you hear us? And Izuku just makes a guess, saying that they said how the thinking that they were saying, how did you hear us? And Izuku says, because I can. And they're confused. They're like, okay. And so Izuku just continues walking. Todoroki's like halfway through the canyon at this point. He's just using let's say it was someone else that got him to use his power, and his fire, and they did it early. So he's using his fire to launch his way across the canyon. And Izuku, let's just say he gets up to the canyon, and Todoroki's at the end. He turns around, sees Izuku, and he just pulls a face at him. And then Izuku just teleports right behind Todoroki. That was in front of So Todoroki was turned around, and Zuko teleports behind him, so he's now in front of him in the obstacle race, and he starts walking forward, and Todoroki, let's just say Zuko was out faster, he saw an after image of Zuko, and he saw he was starting to fade away, and as he was starting to fade away, President Mike says, "Wow, Izuku Midoriya took the first place spot from Todoroki, or second place spot from Todoroki, because Bakugo's still in first." So he's like, "What?" Then he turns around and he sees Izuku's just walking right in front of him, walking away from him toward the minefield. So Todoroki's like, "Damn it!" And he shoots a fire blast at him, and Izuku just disappears, and he's right in front of the minefield now, and everyone's like, "What? How did he do that? Does he have like a teleportation quirk?" And President Mike asks this to Aizawa, and Aizawa says, "Well, I heard from him that it's just his plain speed." And President Mike's just like, "There's no way. You can't teleport with speed, with speed alone. No one's that fast." And Aizawa just says, "Well, he is." And so, yeah, so Aizawa, oh no, so Izuku is up to the minefield now. Bakugo is exploding himself halfway. He sees Izuku. He gets to the end. Izuku is just walking over the mines. They're exploding, but they're not sending him into the air because he's infusing chakra with his feet, so he stays on the ground, and they're like not even damaging him. So, it's gone long enough. I might end it here. I'll get to the end of the race. So Izuku is just walking across the minefield, and Bakugo gets to the end. He stops, turns around, and just sits down because he knows that Izuku's gonna win anyway. So he sits down, waits for Izuku to get over the end, and he's walking in front of him. Let's just say Todoroki, he used too much of his fire. He fell down to the bottom of the pit, and he eventually made his way up, but it was like, whoa. Izuku and Bakugo were walking, so Izuku was walking to the exit with Bakugo right behind him. Bakugo knew that if he even tried to get in front of him, Izuku would just body flicker to the end. And so Todoroki is just using his eyes to get as far forward as he can, or using his fire's jet propulsion. Let's say that he can only do this for about 10 seconds because he's learning how to use both sides at once. So he's getting near Bakugo and Izuku, and then he hears Izuku Midoriya first place, Katsuki Bakugo second place, Shoto Todoroki third place, and because he was like right behind them, but they were already at the end of the tunnel by the time that they did it. So that's the 3 order, and yeah, I'm ending it off here. Quite a long one, I know, but yeah, this is finite incantatum finished. Alright, if you like this video, like, subscribe. See you later.